personal energy in her Showgirl Awakenings work. It's just inspiring to me. So when I was thinking, I've been working a lot on mindset lately, and I may have a little surprise podcast series coming at you very, very soon along with that little teaser about mindset. And when I've been kind of digging into this and thinking about this and setting up some things with this, Kelita was one of the first people I thought of to bring back on the show, just because I have always adored her mindset, or at least what it appears from the outside. Of course, we never know what internally someone's mindset, and we all have good and bad days. But every time I interact with Kelita, I just fall in love with her positivity and her approach and just the way she makes me feel. Right? It's just a fantastic attitude that she has. So I knew I had to bring her back on and just get caught up with her and see what kind of insights she could share with us. And boy, did she not disappoint. I mean, this episode, I will just tell you flat right ahead of time, it is chock full of really, really great, actionable, interesting advice. We talk a lot about a couple different frameworks, actually. We talk about reveling, revealing, and receiving as a framework. And then we also talk about, and I don't know if, I forget if we had a name for this kind of, we do kind of a Venn diagram exercise. So be ready if you're not driving or anything, have a piece of paper and a pen handy, because we really get into this. And it's a super interesting way to conceptualize being a showgirl, or however you define yourself, being an artist, really being a human being, let's put it that way. And the way that these parts of our lives kind of intersect. I don't do as well a job explaining it as she does, so I will shut up about it and just let you listen, because it is just absolutely fascinating. She's got a couple new programs as well, and since we recorded this episode, she did give me some updates. She does have a new Facebook business page, as well as a personal Facebook page, an Instagram, and her website. She's also got a free intention setting course that's up right now, and you can subscribe to her Showgirl Awakening love letter. I love that it's a love letter and not a newsletter. So good. So again, all those links over at burlesquestripdown.com/Kelita. That's KELLITA. And from that site, you'll be able to reach her first episode 17, as well as this new one with all the cool new links, plus a little, visualization of the Venn diagram as we get into that. So as a reminder, let me tell you a little bit about Kelita. She is the creator of Showgirl Awakening, and she is an artist, dancer, director, teacher, coach, and mentor. For over 20 years, she's performed, designed, and curated shows, and midwifed awakening showgirls all over the world. Kelita helps kind, smart, soulful, sensitive women who have been over-editing, over-managing, and over-giving, and are attracted to showgirl dance, theater, and glitter performance. She helps them to trust themselves and express themselves with confidence, presence, and radiance. Honestly, my friends, even just reading that bio, I get like chills. This idea of women who have been over-editing, over-managing, over-giving. I mean, how many of us, human beings, but particularly those of us who have been socialized female, how many of us does that not resonate with, right? That is just the story of my life. So Kelita, a little shout out to you right now, because I'm sure, hopefully anyway, you'll be listening to this. I love you so much, and I am so grateful for all that you have to share. Don't forget that if you're liking the show, you can head on over to burlesquestripdown.com/support, and you can donate just $1 or $2 a month. Really helps to kind of offset the cost of hosting fees and things like that, the money that comes out of my pocket to go into the podcast. We love having a free resource for everybody interested in burlesque. But it does cost a little bit of money. So if you can support, that's great. I understand not everyone can, and that's totally fine as well. Feel free to just share this with your friends. That absolutely helps me out as well. The more we can share, the more we can get this information out there, the better. So share these episodes, and you can head on over into iTunes or whatever podcast catcher you use. I guess it's called Apple Podcasts now. I don't know. I'm not an I person. I'm going to have to get used to saying Apple Podcasts instead of iTunes. Ugh, they gotta stop changing things on me. But whichever podcast player you use, you can leave us a rating and review. That also helps us get up in the search rankings. And don't forget, we are now sponsored by Audible. Audible is a great audiobook subscription service or audiobook service that has over 180,000 different titles and counting. I mean, they're adding more all the time. And for listeners of Burlesque Stripped Down, we've got a free 30-day trial as well as a free audiobook. You can head over to audibletrial.com/burlesque stripped down, Or if you forget, you can flip that and go to burlesquetripdown.com/audible. And that'll get you that free trial. It also kind of helps support the show, like I mentioned. So we'll get a little more into that with Kalita. She's going to tell us about a couple of her favorite books in the middle of the show. So thank you to Audible for supporting the podcast. So without further ado, let's go ahead and launch in to my second follow-up interview. Well, I guess first follow-up. My second interview total, first follow-up interview with Miss Kalita. That is right, my friends and lovers. I am so excited to have another repeat guest on the show. I have Kalita back here with me today. I am super excited. How are you doing, Kalita?
Hoot, hoot. Happy to be here. Happy to be here with you.
Yeah, no, it's so good to have you here. Now, for those of you who haven't been listening for a while, Kalita was on the show back in episode number 17. Number 17 back, I think, what did we say? April of 2016. So yes. April of last year.
Yes.
And we had such an amazing conversation. I've had a lot of amazing conversations on this show, but that one like really, really stuck out to me even from back then, because it was just, we were talking so much about just energies and oh gosh, it was so, and your archetypes, your showgirl archetypes and all of these things. So if you haven't heard it, definitely go back and listen to that one, because Kalita has a lot of good stuff to share. And I asked her to come back on the show today, kind of, first of all, to catch up with where she is, and then also to really get into some of the new stuff that she's, into lately. We're going to talk a little bit about mindset, because that's been a huge thing in my mind lately. Mindset, mindfulness, all of these things. And I knew that Kalita would be a perfect person to talk to about that. But before we get into the really deep stuff, I would love to hear, Kalita, just kind of maybe catch us up on where you're at, like what you've been doing over the last year or so, year and a half, I guess. Just tell us where life has taken you.
I think that we spoke and did interview 17 just before I left San Francisco for Showgirl Awakening Spring 2016 Europe tour. And that was a really beautiful ride. I made it to 8 different cities in 5 different countries over 6 weeks. And that was really me coming out in a large way to a whole bunch of literally different cultures. We had translation going on in some of the ports there. And I wanted to know how much connection would be possible when I actually outed all of the metaphysical, psychological, spiritual, the backdrop for everything that I've been doing, that for some years, I didn't talk about. I just kept it inside for quite a few. It was seeping out right, left, and center. It's not like it was a complete secret, but I wasn't really consciously saying, look, this is what, in my opinion, this is what we're doing with burlesque. This is what's possible for, and what happened was it landed so well. Like I spent anywhere from 2 hours to a whole weekend with groups of women in Germany, Spain, France, Sweden, and Finland. And we were making these connections on the level that as we speak today, what we did and talked about and experienced together will come out. But it was very much, I'm just going to call it, I've never used this term, like our wild presence, our wild deep presence. We were able to access with each other, not knowing each other, and often a lot of the people not even know, them not knowing me or not knowing each other, and to boom, hit that spot that's very similar to when someone comes to a burlesque show. And I say, because frankly, I feel like audience members in a good burlesque show, an audience member is experiencing the same arc of the performer for as much as they want to. The invitation is there. This lack of fourth wall is so key to this art form, that it is not a look at me, I'm doing something, I'm here for you to just see me as a moving art form in front of you. There is I'm here to permeate you and to be permeated by you on the terms that we both want.
Yes.
On the term. Whoa, I'm having all body shivers on that one.
I know. I'm getting so excited talking about this.
Wow. So that happened. And then from that came back and continued here in San Francisco. I don't remember everything really, but I do know that doing Burlesque from the Inside Out, which is a signature program for creating an act that really, this is also a new phrase for me. The aim is really like personal narrative meets glitter dance. And come the fall, it was really clear to me after like the tour was very energizing and confirming and affirming of like, okay, yes, connection is there. There are enough women locally and around the world who want to take these same principles that make a burlesque act feel so delicious and so connected, and to take those principles, the same ones that make a good act, all the same kind of choosing that goes into what movements will I do, what music will I choose, all of the act choices, taking those out and applying those choices to how am I creating this whole thing called life. So I then created a mentorship called Your Life is Your Work of Art. And that happened from winter to spring, 16 to 17. And one of the women joined us all the way from Berlin, we spent 2 hours together in Berlin, and then we connected on the phone for an hour, and that was enough for her to know. And she literally flew out for our we met in person for pockets of days over that period. And she came from Berlin, and the rest of the women came from the greater Bay Area. And we took all this to a whole different level, which I won't go into detail now, but also confirmation that yes, this is a thing. And holy crap, yeah,
sounds like quite a ride. That's so exciting.
Yeah, and those are the highlights. I took the same tour to Japan this spring. I just adore Japan. And then here, I've really been deep in the Feather's Nest cave, letting integrate, because what I realized, and this is no surprise, but it did not dawn on me until after the Your Life is Your Work of Art mentorship closed and after Japan. It's like, oh my God, my own life, starting in December, early December is when that mentorship started. I started undergoing the same, like, really full, like, new skin, new life kind of transformation on all the great levels, health and relationship and family life and relationship to work, all the big corners, relationship to friendship. So I was undergoing the same thing. I didn't notice because I was tending and holding the group, but same damn thing was happening to me. So I've been integrating over the summer, and I think we're just barely sticking our noses out of the summer now. And by the time you hear this, we'll be deep into sweet fall or later. So yeah, here we are. I pass the potato to you.
No, I think that's so beautiful. And I really, there's a lot of things I pick out from your journey since we last talked. And one of them being what you touched on last, this idea of as a teacher or a mentor or however, the facilitator, whatever you would call yourself in these programs, you also are doing the work and you are also going through these transformations. And I think so many times when we are teachers or instructors, I'm getting more into the sex ed community. And so I have a group of sex educators that I talk with on a frequent basis. And there's a lot of us in there that feel or that have voiced certain feelings of feel we have to already know everything and already be where we're supposed to be.
That wouldn't, and that wouldn't even be relatable. I salute you. I'm so glad that you have each other. One thing I will say, and this is a side note that I don't want to fall too deeply into, but really worth saying, when you are in a teaching, mentoring, facilitating, leading role, do get peers. Do get peers who are also doing that so that you have a place, in addition to having your own coach person, or whoever is that person who helps you continue to groom yourself. Also, just get peers who, because it's real important. I'm actually, this feels important to say that I didn't plan on it at all. There is a beauty and a purpose and a very so needed to have that role that I just mentioned of someone they've been through the territory. And so they are holding their hands out to you and helping you not recreate the wheel. Having that come down, I'm literally seeing that as lineage. Someone who's just it's not that they did it 50 years ago or that they're eons ahead. No, they've been through it a little before you. They know that terrain, and not to tell you how it goes exactly, but that just guide, and then it comes down from you. If you're in that space of being called to lead and mentor, that you offer that same thing down, but that's all vertical. And here, the horizontal piece of having that that horizontal friendship and co-leadership, goodness, it's terribly important. There, said.
Yeah, no, I agree fully. And I think that's something it's talked about in business circles a lot, especially the online entrepreneur sphere, about having that mentorship and then also a mastermind or a group of people that are on your level to run these things by. And I always personally think of the analogy of back when we were in school, whether it's elementary school, middle school, high school, when you were a freshman coming into high school. For those of you outside the country, freshman is the first year of our high school. So what are we, 13 when we go into high school, maybe 13, 14. And so you have that first year and you have no idea. And it's so helpful to have someone not who's a teacher, your parents who have gone through it years ago, but someone maybe who's a junior or a senior or even a sophomore, just who can give you that little bit of perspective. And then on the flip side, as you said, passing it down, oftentimes we feel that because we're not complete experts in the field, we can't teach but even a sophomore's advice is useful to a freshman, or even a second grader's is useful to a kindergartner, because they still know more.
Yeah.
So I think that's beautiful. And then also balanced with this idea of peers at your same level. It's very smart.
This is reminding me of something that I've been doing a lot of writing to try to get out what it is that this work that I've been doing, discovering, downloading and passing on, being transformed by myself. And one line I wrote the other day, and I totally stand by it, is, I wish I didn't create Showgirl Awakening. I know that's a kind of a provocative statement, but I wish that it existed and I just walked into it. I wish, frankly, that it didn't need to exist as a thing. This is even beyond what I wrote, but I mean it, as a thing that has a name that you go somewhere to. I wish that it was just embedded in the culture of humans. I wish for my job to be obsolete. Until it is obsolete, I'll continue to do it, but it just wants to be this for every woman who grows up from, baby to 13-year-old. I don't know, I jumped to that because it seems like there's all fine in between, goddamn. Okay, so who grows knowing in her bones and her skin that her very existence is it's more than the permission. Permission shouldn't even be a word on the radar. Her existence is the stamp that she is, and she is perfect, and all of her instincts and her sensations and her emotions and her preferences, these are the things that guide just these basic features, which I'll kind of share how I hold them. maybe even now would be a good time.
Yes, but please do. Launch in, yeah.
So these, I don't know if I talked about revel, reveal, and receive last time, but I'll give it a brief recap even. So it's these 3 R's, handy dandy to have 3 R's. And it's these 3 stages of reveling in your body and revealing your radiant essence and receiving what you actually desire. It might be different than what you thought. These 3 basic, if to sum up the whole Showgirl Awakening philosophy or practices, they all fall in these 3 R's. And I used to think, they happen in an order, like there's a stage 1 and stage 2 and stage 3. Actually, I've come to discover, nope, they happen simultaneously. If you fully are doing any one of the 3, the other 3 are there. And I'll give some basic examples. But it helps just for our minds because we live in time space, and it helps for us to think, first, let's just talk about one. So I'll, for a minute, just talk about reveling in the body. Reveling is I'm going to little redefine the word. It's associated with parades, which I love. But as revel, I mean in this context to fully embody and experience whatever emotion or sensation. All emotions are expressed in the body as some kind of physical sensation. I'm really kinesthetic, and so I often know a physical feeling before I know the emotion. You can follow one to the other. You can go either way, but that's like the raw. And so reveling is not just the happy emotions. It's not just the joy and all this. It's whatever. It's the rage. It's the, throw me out some emotions, would you?
Oh,
sorry, I don't mean to put you on the spot.
No, that's okay. I'm just like, oh gosh, emotions. So you have anger, you have frustration and contentment
and despair.
Despair, yeah, absolutely.
And
I can put on the spot trying to think of emotions. I didn't know it would be this hard. It's a test.
I passed it to you because sometimes I blank out. So that's just
the story of my life.
And there's wonder. Wonder and emotion, yeah.
I think so.
I think so.
Yeah.
It's a state. It's a state. So whatever that is, and any feeling that you're having, whether it's like, and to know what physical feeling you have, you actually have to bring your attention not just to your body as an observer, which is a little bit of a secondary degree of attention, but to really know what your body's feeling, you actually have to pop your own consciousness back into your body. I say this because some of you might say, what do you mean? Where would I be otherwise? Well, I venture that there are a lot of other places that my consciousness anyway can hang out, which for many years was rather far from my body. So to bring it literally into like, how are my feet feeling? What are they touching? Like right now, my feet are touching a velvet pillow, which feels wonderful. I like soft things. So my feet are feeling cozy. My butt's pretty happy. It's sitting on another pillow. I'm feeling my skin right now. And I invite you to do the same things. Please, right now, listener, notice where your feet are, how they feel, literally hot, cold. Are they touching something soft? Are they hanging in the air? How's your butt? The temperature for me is just pleasant. It's not too hot. It's not too cold. So all of this information, I know to report it out loud to you, I a little bit have to step out of myself, but I got that information firsthand from me. I didn't get a report from Google on how Kalita's body is. I, as Kalita the consciousness, made sure that I popped into my body and felt those things. So all of that is reveling. Whatever your feeling is or your emotion or sensation, that you're having it and you're having it through the center of it, not deciding for the millions of reasons that we do consciously and unconsciously that feeling is not okay, or it's not okay here in front of the person I'm with, or it's not okay because I'm at the store getting groceries, whatever it is. I'm having body chills, which tells me we're hitting something of import. So that's reveling in the body, exceedingly helpful for on stage. If you're not there in your body on stage, It's not very interesting, in my opinion. Even if your body is doing the most amazing splits or pirouettes or showing us the funniest joke through a magic trick or whatever you're doing, you could be doing the most technically or comedically or whatever the thing is. It can be on paper like the most amazing act. But if you're not there in your body, I notice that. And it's not fun for me to watch, because watching you not be in your body, the only invitation to me is to not be in my body. So this is a thing. But anyway, I went a little broader with that, as I tend to do, but that's the reveling. So reveling in the body, applicable to stage, applicable to all of life. Frankly, I haven't found a context within which this revel, reveal, receive doesn't have value. I haven't yet. So moving to reveal, the second big R. Revealing, really clear on stage for a burlesque act. We do obvious reveal. We are revealing our very body and skin over the course of the act. But there's another reveal, which to me is as or more, frankly, I'll just name it, it's more interesting to me. We're revealing our essence, which I want to say one word about, because I love it because it's kind of connected to fingerprint. Like we know each person has a unique fingerprint. And I just learned that they form even when we're in the womb. Our fingerprints are already individual, never to be repeated. Crazy. I did not know that. So we've got these fingerprints we know about, and I'm going to make essence feel a little less like, what do you mean? Where is it? I'm going to propose that it actually exists in a place. So basically the very center of the body, if you stand up and just take the very center of your body, the line there, on that pathway from higher than you can see, up, coming from down, line, coming down from farther than we can see, up through the head, all the way through the body, down through the center of the earth. And there's a line that's constantly going down. Light, energy, something alive. For as long as we're alive in the body, there is an alive line of connection going down. And next to or intertwined with, coming from the center of the earth up, is another line of light, energy. It's matter. It's just matter on such a particle level that we don't consider. It's not matter like a cup that we can touch, but it's coming up. So we've got this up and down. There are many, many traditions that call this different things. I'll just be the first to say I could not recite all of them. How I sourced this was more from my own experience, but I noticed that this is something that many traditions, esoteric traditions, have very much mapped out, and Chinese medicine and Ayurveda, chakras. So we've got that going. That is where your essence lives, and it has a print to it that is only your print. Do I know how to take someone's fingerprint? Like, we can do ink with an actual fingerprint. Yes, I do. You take that. So there it is. It's there. It's in the middle of us. It expands out. When a performance is very interesting to me, whether this is someone on stage or just someone in the quote unquote performance of their life, that little beam quivers and extends. Just think of like dust particles, dust in light. As they begin to quiver, another word for quiver is my favorite word, is they shimmy. Those little particles that make up your person print, they go from that little space in the middle of you out until they get to the edge of your skin, and then they go out from there. And you've seen it when performers have, it's like, I don't know what she's doing, but she's just filled the whole theater. What happened? She sent her person print out. That can be done just through a mindset shift, but it is exceedingly helpful to do it through a physical movement. And shimmy is that movement. I'm going to bookmark something because I don't want to go too far in the rabbit hole there, but I'm going to say it out loud to bookmark it so you can help me remember. I do want to talk about, there's a lot of talk about how body and mind are different and you want to come out of your mind into your body. I want to propose how you cannot separate them. They are the same thing. So I'm going to just put that aside for the moment. So that's revealing when you intentionally send your radiant essence, which is physical. It is not just a concept of consciousness. It is physical. You send it out to fill your whole body. It radiates with it, and you send it out from there. That is revealing your radiant essence. Whew!
Yes, I love it. Okay. I am so excited about this. This is very good. I like having these frameworks that really make it contextual. No, not more tangible, I think is the right word for it. So, and I like that we have a chance to redefine some of these words as well, like, going in with revel,
yes.
Not revel,
yes,
revel. You're right. It invokes good images,
yes.
but I love how you redefined it there, because I think I've had a lot of discussions, of course, since the election and other things here in the United States about emotions and the nature of emotions, whether they're good or bad, and this and that and the other. And I think that I love what you're saying and how you tie it in with this embodiment, this mindfulness, this awareness of our personhood and our physical body, and how those we can revel and we can appreciate where we are without judgment.
Thank you.
And
yes.
be there. I love that.
In fact, I just propose that that's the only way to lead a satisfying life at all. If we're trying not to feel what is present, which is what most humans do, please don't beat yourself up. I want anyone who is hearing this is what we all do. So please do not hear this and sit alone and decide, oh my God, I'm not feeling my feelings. I must be doing it wrong. You're not doing it wrong. I'll just say this one thing here, which is also very true. We are always, every single human, no matter how much it looks like they're fucking up or you feel like you're fucking up, every single human is always doing the best they can in every moment. No exceptions. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yay. On that note, receive.
All right, let's hear about receiving. I want to hear about receive. I am ready to receive the receiving.
Receiving the receiving. So receiving, this is how I almost feel like I want to backtrack and say, no, they do happen in an order. If they do happen in an order, it's so quick. No, I'm just going to say they don't, but receiving is what, so here you are, my language is going to make it sound like they happen in an order. So here you are, and your radiant essence has been activated, whether it's from a shimmy or just you letting someone see you as you are. It's the opposite of hiding. So there you are, not hiding. Whenever someone truly doesn't hide, the only response that another human can have, people tend to match each other. If someone's not hiding, it really encourages whoever is in front of them to also not hide. So this is a wonderful ricochet. And so the person being seen, who's revealing, and then they've got the other person seeing them, could be an audience member, could be a friend you're talking to, could be your employer who's seeing you. The only real human response is there's a Rumi poem about it, it's to just laugh out loud or break into 1,000 pieces. It's so beautiful to let someone really see you. And I mean this in the most concrete way. I mean that see how you're feeling, see what your experience is, see what you really think about something. It can be very simple. It doesn't have to be complex. See your preference, let them see how much you love blueberries. If you really let that out and you don't try to hide, say, well, no, I love blueberries, and let them watch you just eat one. You've seen that on stage where someone's just eating a piece of fruit and they're letting someone see how much they love them and they're really loving it. The only response is love. So this love, however it comes from the seer to the person being seen. And here's where the receiving comes in. This love can get to your doorstep if the person being seen. Okay, I'm going to come back to this verb, permeate. I talked about on the stage being permeated and permeating the audience and being willing to be permeated by them. There is the choice of the person being seen to let that appreciation, I'm going to call it appreciation. Love has so many meanings. It's a little tricky of a word. So I'm going to say, let that appreciation in. It might be coming through. It's really lovely when it comes through applause, because I think that's one of the easier ways to let it in. When it comes through very specific words directed, like compliments.
It's hard. Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that's tricky to take in. We're really trained to deflect and, send it back to the other person, especially for women. Mm-hmm. To just like, Preach, but it's, girl, yeah. but letting it in is its whole own practice. And that's the receiving piece. So I'm going to just admit that's a growing edge for this girl. I will also say though, that when I'm in the higher I'm reveling, and that just means the more I'm letting my experience be my experience without judging, qualifying, giving conditions, or trying to manipulate it or have it be somehow different, I am then revealing and I am opening to receiving. They do happen all on top of each other. Whew! So those are the three R's. Those are the three R's. We could, I will tell you that you can spend like a year or 5 years or a whole lifetime unpacking and learning how to live them. But this is them in a short essence. So I'm glad we have them on the table.
Oh, that's so beautiful. And one thing I'm pretty sure I made this same note the last time we talked. And so it's just funny that it comes up again, is that I am just in love with the interconnectedness of life and how these concepts that you hear, I literally remember having the same conversation back in episode 17 with you last time, but I just need to say it again because life just sends you these messages from so many different ways, right? Some of the things you're saying, I am hearing them and they are reminding me of something I heard from someone else in a totally different part of my life. And then something else that I heard from over here in this part of my life and over here. Mm-hmm. And it's just so beautiful to me when I can, it's as if life is like pounding me over the head with these things, right? You need to hear it. You're not hearing it from this person. You're not hearing it only from this person. You need to hear it from a lot of different ways, I guess, or from different people or from different situations to really have it sink in.
And I will say this too, that it's you who's doing the hearing.
Ooh.
Yes. Yeah. That's the common point there. Someone else who heard all the same, those other people all say something. It's the point of consciousness that exists as you, Velvet. That you're doing the hearing.
It's like the simple, and there's a name for the effect, and I can't remember. If you remember, let me know. But otherwise, somebody will be yelling at the radio or at their phone trying to remind us. But it's this, I can't remember. But it's like when I remember when I was looking for a car to buy a PT Cruiser. Suddenly, every single car I saw on the road practically was a PT Cruiser. And they're ugly, so it was not fun for me. But no judgment, PTs are great. But it's that, and I know there's a name for that effect. It's like once you become aware of something, you start to see it everywhere, and you can watch safety cars go down the road and perceive them almost differently. You have expectations, or you're noticing different things. So it's like that, but on a different level, I think.
It is. Oh, there's so many different directions we can go. I'm just going to say here that is an example of. Well, no, I'm not going to. It would take too long. But we do that with our world. I don't know the name of the effect, but yes, we see what we're looking for.
Absolutely.
That's the simplest way to say it. Yay, me!
I like it. Yep,
we see what we're looking for, and everyone does that.
Right.
And another way to say it is we see what we believe. We actually can't. If you ever want to know, I'm just going to drop this little piece here. If you ever want to know what someone believes, don't ask them. They'll tell you what they think they believe. Look at their experience. That's what they believe. Look at what's happening in their life and how they're experiencing their life. That's actually what they believe.
Interesting. Yep, it's a sick.
Woo! Woo.
All right. Oh my gosh. I want to
Oh my gosh.
I want to take a quick break here. Well, not really a break, because I want to include it in our conversation, because I am willing to bet that you have a lot of books that you love and all of that. So I want to remind everybody listening that we are actually sponsored. The show is now sponsored by Audible, who they're one of our favorite partners. And I have loved Audible. I'm actually kind of mad at Audible only because they take time away from my podcasting. So I'm super behind on listening to all my podcasts because I've been listening to all these Audible books, which are also amazing. And so it's hard. There's not enough hours in my day. It's so good. If you've never listened to Audible, they're amazing. They have over 180,000 different titles. They've got everything. They've got fiction, they've got nonfiction, they've got business books, they've got, self-development books. Perhaps Kalita might have a little recommendation for us. Do you have any favorite books?
I do. I'm going to mention two here. And in fact, these two books, almost sure will be required reading for my next mentorship. So whether or not we have the pleasure of working together ever, I highly recommend both. And the first is called When the Body Says No by Dr. Gabor Mate. But just put in When the Body Says No, you'll catch it there. I think that the subtitle is something about the stress disease connection. Boy, I wish we just had hours and hours. I could sit here with you so long, but the simplest way, I want to link it to what we've been talking about in this context. One of the reasons that I didn't just choose performance chose me, is I was experiencing so many feelings that for whatever reason, I couldn't revel in. I didn't have the ability. And having this moment on stage where I get to embody in a big way that no one's going to interrupt in those 5 little minutes. I got to have the experience of having some of those feelings, because this is the link here. When those feelings aren't felt, when they really have nowhere to go, they show up as disease. So that's the simplest way. I've known this for a long time, but this book took it to a whole new level. And I think that I can't summarize. I hope that's enough of a carrot that will get you to that book. And then the second book is called Transformational NLP, A New Psychology. Important. I think there's another book that has the same first title, but A New Psychology by co-authors Carl Buchheit, Buchheit, and Ellie Shamber. Carl Buchheit and Ellie Shamber. And you will notice, should you get that book, that several of these moments where I've given a little punctuating statement of one of them, that everyone's always doing the best they can. And then the thing you talked about, that effect, I wanted to launch into something that I didn't because it would have been too complex for right now, but you'll get that in the book, woven throughout my whole worldview and point of view at this point. This work, I gotta say, not any NLP, the particular way that NLP has cooked over the last 30 to 40 years for Carl. I have been lucky enough in this lifetime to hook up with Carl. And this is the first book that he's ever written. It has a lot of history. I was a little concerned it was going to be too much history and not enough about the work, but it's beautiful. It gives enough history so you know the lineages that he comes through and his particular hit on all of this. It's deeply resonant with all Showgirl Awakening work. So those two books, check them out.
Excellent.
Carrot. Read them and then find me and tell me how they rocked your world.
Yeah, I would love to hear. I'm definitely going to check those out myself. And I think we checked, at least that first one is on Audible. The second one might not be yet, but
might not be yet. It's
they're
newer.
always
it will
adding titles, and they're having, new people all the time, new books all the time. So of course, the show notes for this episode, you're going to be able to find them at burlesquestripdown.com/Kalita. Now we already have one. So you're going to be able to find both episodes at that one website, and then you can go to either one of the episodes and kind of have a home base for her. And it's spelled Kellita. That way you can check out these exact books in case you're driving, you couldn't jot them down or anything like that. I'll list those up in there. And don't forget, with Audible, they are offering listeners of Burlesque Strip Down, they have a really special deal. They have a free download with a 30-day free trial. So
Oh my
you can
gosh.
check it out. There's no obligation to stay on past those 30 days. You can just see whether you like it. And I think you will. Don't let it take you away from my podcast. You know, you got to find the balance between listening to Burlesque Stripped Down and listening to Audible. But that should be plenty of time for you to check out one of these two books, maybe both. Again, as soon as if the second one is added, I will add that onto those show notes as well. So you can go to audibletrial.com/burlesque stripped down, or you can just go to burlesquestrippeddown.com/audible, whichever one sticks in your memory a little bit better. They're both going to take you to the same page. And you're going to get your free 30-day trial plus a free audiobook of your choice.
A no-brainer.
So we, as always, would like to thank Audible for sponsoring the podcast. We love you, Audible, so much.
Audible.
Oh, she's shimmying at the same time. Y'all are missing this. We got a shimmy. Audible's shimmies for Audible. Everybody listening right now, shimmies for Audible. Woo! All right. Well, I think you had bookmarked something. So do you want to flip back to that right now?
Yeah.
Or do you have something else you'd like to talk about?
You know what? I think that I can be nimble enough, what a good word, nimble, to weave in the mind-body piece with, I want to share another little trio, which actually are best in Venn diagram, and perhaps we'll have a link to this diagram.
Absolutely. Yep.
But I'm going to say it simply. All Showgirl Awakening work exists at the intersection of these three circles. So see in your mind 3 overlapping circles. You could even, if you have paper and a pen, draw them. That might even help. And in one circle, write, don't take up all the space because we're going to have a little subtitle, write art. Kind of at the top or somewhere, art. And write in one of the circles, write psyche. And in one of the circles, write spirit. Art, psyche, and spirit. Under art, we're talking, this is kind of like just a little describing what we mean, embodied physical art. Art with your body. And in the psyche circle, right, emotional and mental awareness and healing. Emotional and mental awareness and healing. That's in the psyche circle there too. And in the spirit circle, the little extra tag is spirituality or relationship to and embodiment of spirit. Spirituality or the relationship to embodiment of spirit. So we have these 3 things going on. And guess what is in, do you see there's a little place where all 3 of your circles meet, where they all overlap in the dead center?
Yes, I see that very well.
Thank you for the affirmation. In the middle is your radiant essence that you're reveling in and receiving through. So in the middle is your radiant essence. When all of these 3 are activated and engaged, that's what's going on in the middle. Now there's these delicious little flaps between each of the 2 circles. I love this. This is fun. You know, my first profession was teaching English as a second language. So I'm kind of getting into the teachiness here.
Absolutely.
So I hope everyone, if you haven't, pause the podcast. If you haven't, go get paper and a pen and come back and rewind a little, because it's worth it, because you will have your own diagram to do that. So the little overlap between the art and the psyche circles, that little area where only those 2 touch, that's dance therapy. And then that little circle where the 2 flaps of psyche and spirit overlap, those 2 circles, that's spiritual direction. And that little flap where art and spirit touch only is the dancing mystic. So I'm going to give just a tiny bit of extra, frankly, I'd never even heard of spiritual direction until I was in my 30s. So it's very possible that there is a listener or 2 who has not heard of it. Spiritual direction is distinct from therapy. It's not about rehashing everything that's happened to you and why what happened has resulted in how you feel or are living now. It's actually, spiritual direction it usually happens in a one-on-one format, but can happen in one on a group. It helps each person find and foster and nurture whatever their personal relationship is to what is greater than themselves. Ooh, I like that. That's a very inclusive way. So spiritual direction is present in the Showgirl Awakening work, and dance therapy, that other little flap, It's basically like using your body to work on out your shit.
Yeah.
Through your body, not just
so
talk,
needed.
not just talk. And then the dancing mystic is, what does the mystic do? The mystic gets the direct line to what is greater than them, and they live it through their body. They get the direct line and they live it through their body, through their movements. I don't just mean dance as in fancy pants ballet dance. I mean the moving body in performance, the moving body in life. So this diagram really, if you look at all of that, kind of marinate with it, this one circle of art, which is creative experience. We've got creative experience, the psyche, which is therapeutic experience. There is something happening that is healing. There is creation, there is healing, and in the spirit circle, and there's acknowledgement that it's not just me as an individual personality. It's me created to however you conceive of the greater whole that is more than an individual person or just a group of people, whatever we come from. I don't propose to suggest what that is, whatever animates us. And where all of that lives is where this work that has been coming through me and that I'm so honored to pass on. The idea is that things that you know, to give more concreteness to it. Shazam!
Absolutely. I love it. So would you say that those little flappy areas,
yeah.
I just like calling them flappy areas.
Flappy areas.
Happy. Would you say that those are like some of the strategies to use to develop this essence? Or how would you kind of like...
I like that. Strategies. I like that. What I would actually say is rather than looking at them, kind of how I say, like revel and reveal and receive all happen at once.
Yeah.
In this work, and I can't because we're talking in such a short time, but should this be interesting to you, please look me up. By November, I will have more and more absolutely free things to share with you so that you can take as much as you want and just use and run with it and go with it. There are practices within Showgirl Awakening that all of those happen together. All of the work happens at the center, and the specific strategies, those are specific practices, which again, I would love to share, but it would, there are the core Showgirl Awakening, I'll name what they are at least. There's the core Showgirl Awakening movements. We did visit Shimmy a bit.
Yeah, we did.
There's the embodied intention practice, a very simple, but I realized you could call it a strategy or a technology. It's actually a very simple way to train attention to what you would like more of. So the embodied intentions. There's the intentional outcome frame, which comes from the transformational NLP. Yeah, there are all of these. And this is actually an exceedingly lovely segue, since you'll be receiving this a little deeper into fall, or maybe even later, who knows?
I never make promises. I don't know. We'll see when my editing happens.
When the editing happens, it happens. But I will mention a slightly time-based thing. But please, if you're hearing this outside of that time frame, still come find me if anything is resonating. All of this is just evolving work. And I'm pretty clear that I'm in this for this whole lifetime. I've been with it for 20 plus years directly, and there is no sign that I will be leaving this work. Anyway, 2018, I will be leading, I'm intending to, just like Velvet, who really knows, but at this point, I'm intending to lead both an online, Your Life is Your Work of Art mentorship, and a live, which also includes the online, but live, like you actually fly to San Francisco and meet with me and an intimate group of women in the flesh over a period of time. So for 2018. So this is what we do. This diagram that you've just written, we do this.
That's amazing. And one thing I've always loved about you and everything I see of yours, Amy, from our conversations, but also through what I've seen you posting, is you very much are one of those, like, just putting it out there and take what you need from this, And I just think that's beautiful. Take what you need, because certain, some of us need different things at different times. Some of us use different terminology. For me, the word strategies resonates with me because I do have that kind of like strategic, I guess, strategery, that kind of mindset. So
strategic,
that
yes.
whole thing. And that's one thing I will say. I just, I love you and I love about you. Real quick, I would love to actually touch on one more thing. And I didn't prep you for this question. So, but I'm just curious, as you have come, I know it's crazy. I'm throwing things at you. You threw something at me earlier, so I'm going to do the same right back. But I'm curious, since you've put these programs together, have you struggled at all with any of the imposter syndrome, this idea of who am I to teach this stuff? It circles back to what we talked about earlier, where, you know, you're still doing the work yourself.
Yeah.
So I'd love for you to speak, because that's something I always love to talk about on this show. I think that a lot of us struggle with that. And I'd love if you have some, you know, wise comments on that at all.
I will say yes, that I have. And the sad thing about it is it took me a lot longer to come forward and to speak what it is, to reveal myself. Yeah. I've been slow with reveling, revealing, and receiving. You wouldn't know it looking at my career, but I have been slow, and I have hit the imposter syndrome. And I'll tell you that the only thing I know to suggest strategy-wise for that is to continue to revel. And I mean on the most basic level. Come back, feel how you're feeling. Get into your body. And that sounds like what do you mean get into your body? I mean, feel the temperature. Like, how does it feel in your tummy? Ooh, I have gurgles in my tummy. This might sound ridiculous and too physical and basic, but it is not. Come back to your body in those basic ways and incrementally allow others to see you. I will give a shameless plug. Burlesque from the Inside Out is a really lovely way to be seen. Find ways that in however you are in your life, in your world, to be seen, that you can digest and accept, and more ways to find more ways to let in, just receive a little bit more. Increments. Increments are key. Increments are gold. So yeah, that's my answer.
Beautiful. I love that. Thank you for sharing that, because I think that's something that we often see these teachers, and I listen to you talk and I'm like, gosh, she's so knowledgeable, and you know, you have so much. I say mastery. I don't mean like the highest level. I just mean a good mastery. Mastery is progressive and it continues more. Such a mastery of these concepts. And so I think sometimes we forget that it's been a journey for our teachers as well. So again, we touched on that kind of at the beginning, and I just wanted to circle back to it a little bit here.
Can I tell also the only way that I can share this with any kind of confidence is I've gotten to dig in with actual, real, beautiful humans who have had the pleasure of working with, who are all my teachers. All my students are my teachers.
Absolutely.
And their transformation, which I feel in my body, just like that audience thing, the audience watches a show, they feel what the performer is feeling. In the teaching and studenting and mentor-mentee relationship, I feel and experience the same transformation that my beautiful mentees are going through. So it ricochets back and forth. It is not one directional. That is such an
interesting parallel. Yeah, that's such an interesting parallel between teaching and burlesque, because in neither do we have that. Both of them are seen as this like authority or performer figure and then their audience. But both of them are this kind of back and forth. When you were saying it earlier, it reminded me of something that actually Leopard Lass said back when she was on the show in episode number 33.
Yeah.
Which was, the audience is watching you. The power is in watching them back.
Ooh.
Yeah. And that stuck with me.
Said.
And I actually have a graphic of it. So it's all over the social medias and all of that.
Awesome.
Because I just think that's amazing. And we can continue that by saying that reception of their watching, right? of watching them. And then that makes you, okay, hold on. Let me try that again. Let's see. It's in my head and I'm trying to figure out how to say it. So the audience is watching you. The power is in watching them back. And that increases the power of your reception of them watching you.
Yes.
Does that kind of make sense?
Yes,
I just feel it's not just back and forth one time. It's back and forth and back and forth and back and forth.
That's why I said ricochet. It just goes back and forth.
Ricochet.
It's a ricochet.
Oh.
It's a ricochet.
I wish that our listeners could see us now. Sometimes I wish I had a video podcast because we are both like very just animated talkers, and literally my hands are like flying all over the place right now. Like, it's so funny. Yeah. Well, I am so thrilled that you got to come back on the show today. I don't want to take too much time because I know we already answered the whole this or that question, but I would love to do another quick pick your poison just because I think that's fun. We've gotten real deep and I'd love to just like get a little superficial for a second. So I've got 10 different questions, and I would love for you to pick any random number 1 through 10. So you can get a random
7.
question. No, okay, all right. Whew, number 7. What scent reminds you the most of your childhood?
I got 2. I got a kind of a crumble, like a cinnamon coffee crumble cake. I can taste it too. And then the really strong lemon from tabbouleh salad. Traditional Lebanese salad. Those two.
Cool. Well, thank you for sharing that. All right. Well, let us wrap up today by hearing all of the places, because I am sure that you have some new fan girls and boys and fan non-gender conforming folks out there who are loving what you have to say and really want to hear more, or, you know, are interested. Something about what you've said has piqued their interest and they want to learn more. So what are the best ways to get a hold of you, to hear about you, to find out all the things you have to say?
Well, on the interwebs, showgirlawakening.com. And I have to tell you, honestly, I'm going to make, because I would love to give really up to date, and it might need to be from the blurb.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. Because some of this is shifting.
Definitely.
Some of this is shifting right now. So I'll say refer to the blurb. But I'm going to create a very central home. I've been a little too dispersed on the Book of Face. And I want to find a central place where folks can find me.
Gotcha.
And just simplify. And I'm right in the process of that. Yeah.
Okay. So let's say that the best place to kind of get a hold of you is through burlesquestripdown.com/Kellita,
Yes.
Kellita.
Yes.
And I will keep that updated every
Thank
time that you let me know that there's something new. Of course, you're also going to be able to see the Venn diagram image. I mean, hopefully you've already created one for yourself. Me, I was using colored. I love anything that I can use colored pens. I have these amazing colored pens that I love. And if people listen to my podcast, they've already heard about these pens because I talk about them all the freaking time because they're amazing. Because they're erasable. You can actually erase them. It's so
wow.
Cool. They're called Pilot Friction pens. FRI.
Oh my gosh, a new sponsor.
Yeah, I know. I should call them up because I talk about them enough. So anyway, yes, head over to burlesquestripdown.com/Kellita, Kellita. You'll be able to see both the first episode with Kellita, which is episode 17, and get all those links there and all the things we talked about there. And then all of the links for this episode, including, if there's an update on the website, if she has all of these, the courses going on, all of that good stuff. And I will say, do you have, because I love following you on Facebook, do you have like an Instagram or anything that people follow you on as well?
I do. I'm considering shifting that right. I'll just
Fair
say
enough.
right
Okay.
now, go here to, it's Kellita the Showgirl Shaman. So at Kellita the Showgirl Shaman. That's what that is now. And we'll update below.
Yeah, we'll get all those updates in there because I love some of the like little snippets that you have to share. So wherever you are sharing them at the moment, it's definitely worth following. Even if you're not maybe interested in going deeper into the work, she does have a lot of really great snippets just that I love seeing when I'm just scrolling through my Facebook feed. They just make me happy.
Yay!
So.
And that on Facebook right now, even though I don't know the next place, it's the same thing, Kellita the Showgirl Shaman. On both of those, you can find there. Yeah.
Perfect. Don't forget our sponsor, Audible, as well. Thank you again to Audible. More shimmies for Audible for sponsoring the podcast. And Kellita, I just want to thank you so much, A, for being on the show both times, because you've been amazing both times. And B, I'd also like just to thank you for just doing the work that you're doing, because I think it's so important in our industry specifically, but also in our society as a whole. So a heartfelt, genuine thank you for everything that you do. Shimmies for Kellita.
Shimmies for Velvet. Yay. Thank you for this beautiful platform and for connecting, for being a connector for us.
My pleasure. It's what I love to do. So for everybody listening, thank you again for tuning in. You can definitely check out more at burlesquestripdown.com/Kellita. Check out all of our other episodes there. And if you have any feedback on this, on this particular episode or any of the format of the show, anything like that, you can always email me, velvet@burlesquestripdown.com. If you'd like to support the show, we do have a Patreon set up. I haven't been doing much with it, but I am.
Ooh.
Maybe by the time this episode airs, I will have gotten back into it. But you can do that at burlesquestripdown.com/support.
Awesome.
And of course, if you have any events coming up, you can always email us and let us know about those so we can get those in our semi-sporadic, but we're trying to make them happen, in our worldwide event roundups. So thank you again, everyone, for listening, and make sure that you stay sexy.
Woo!
Bye.